Hello, everyone. Semi-retired Bob here. I talk about the carnivore diet, all things related to the carnivore diet, and miscellaneous odds and ends. Today is one of those miscellaneous odds and ends day. I'm very happy to announce that we have a very special guest today. We have Shawn from Intentional Carnivore here. Say hello to everyone, Shawn.
Hello, it's good to be here. Appreciate you having me.
It's great to have you here. I'm glad you take the time to be here on the channel. So, as I do with most interviews, let's go ahead and just jump right in. And why don't you go ahead and tell us, how did you find out about carnivore and what made you decide to do it?
Okay. Well, one day for about 3 years, I was in really bad shape, not working, and I got in the habit of laying on the couch and not being able to get around very well. And the only thing really that I could do without much trouble is listen to the radio or, podcast or YouTube or things like that. And I had gotten in the habit of just listening to Joe Rogan podcast all the time. If it had interesting people on or whatever. And one day I was listening to a podcast and someone came on and mentioned the carnivore diet and how, it was the proper human diet and how it was, the nutrition was so much better on the proper human diet than what we were accustomed to getting and the miraculous benefits that are being seen from it. And so I got curious because I, had spent so long. It wasn't just the last 3 years. It was the last really 20, 25 years being so unhealthy and headed towards diabetes. I was diagnosed with diabetes not long before I started. So many different health issues I'd accumulated over the years that I was looking for anything, tried every diet, all this stuff. So, I mean, really, I wasn't looking for the carnivore diet at all, just stumbled upon it on a podcast. And then once I heard that, I really I didn't believe what I had heard. So I started searching it out on the internet like most of us do these days, hopping on YouTube or Google or whatever, and stumbled across a crazy doctor named Dr. Ken Berry. And I thought for the life of me, after listening to him, that this man has lost his mind. And there's no way that what he is saying can be completely accurate. Well, once again, I was proven wrong, my friend. And from that point on, Ken Berry made a believer out of me in the carnivore diet. The more he talked and the more I listened, I was in such bad shape that I was grasping for hope, though. And that's the main thing. I was like, this guy, I don't know how this guy, how do I word it? This guy sounds crazy to me, but if what he's saying can work, I'm willing to try it. And the more I fed in and listened and gave in, walked that life, the more it just seemed to work. And I've been following Ken Berry ever since. That's kind of how I found it. And that's how I started.
Excellent. So just as a quick side note, so people know what we're talking about here. How much weight have you lost in how much time?
I lost 243 pounds since April the 17th of last year, of 2022.
So a little over a year.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty amazing, my friend.
Thank you.
So one of the things that I talk about on my channel and have been talking about for over a year now is why. Mm-hmm. Why are we doing this? Because I have always said that I don't believe just getting a little healthier or being able to, lighten the scale a little bit is a good enough reason to keep us on track. We need a very specific thing we're trying to do. Mm-hmm. So would you mind talking about your why for a little bit here? Let people know why you're doing this.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I'm absolutely more than happy to do that. I agree with you. That's one of the big things that I try to focus on too is a why. You got to have a why, because your why, to me, keeps you honest, keeps you going. Whenever you don't feel like going on, that why will keep you focused. And so, and that came from that time period in my life whenever I was laying on the couch with dark depression and almost 500 pounds nearly, type 2 diabetes, sleep apnea, all the issues. Couldn't walk, couldn't hardly take a shower without being out of breath. Um, my why developed. Number one, my faith was a big issue that I had to get straight to begin with, and I did, and that led to me reevaluating the kind of person that I am to my family, because my family saw me this, obviously the whole time. And my kids are teenagers, or about to be teenagers. My daughter's birthday is the 19th of this month, and my son's is the 19th of March, excuse me. And they saw their dad laying on the couch all the time, not working, not able to work, not able to take them out and play, not able to go walking with them, couldn't hardly walk, himself to the car, not able to, I talk about it now, not because, I'm, proud of I'm proud of where I came from, but I'm not proud of the condition that I allowed myself to get into. But nevertheless, that one condition became kind of like my driving factor at first. Yes, obviously, I wanted to lose weight, and I've lost a lot of weight. I've lost 243 pounds since April the 17th of 2022. I've reversed type 2 diabetes since then. Non-alcoholic fatty liver disease is gone. My eating's completely changed. My depression is gone. My anxiety is gone. The PTSD from working as a paramedic and working in EMS for 12 years, I don't struggle with that anymore. It sounds almost too good to be true, but it's the truth. And I have people that live around me in this house with me that can testify to it. But they became my why. I wanted my kids to be proud of me. I wanted my wife to be proud of me. And I know that they were proud of me as a person, but I wanted to feel that they were proud of me, if that makes any sense. It couldn't just be about a number on a scale. That was important because I thought that I was going to die. And I was more than willing for that to happen at that point in my life, because I didn't see any hope to continue on. And so my why is a laundry list of reasons that we definitely don't have time to go into. But that's the biggest why, is I wanted my children to be able to be, proud of their dad. And I wanted to, make them proud. I wanted to better my health. I wanted to be able to provide for my family like I believe that a man is supposed to do with his family. And, that's a lot of my why.
Excellent. Thank you, Shawn. So you said you worked in EMS for a number of years. How was that doing? I mean, how could you possibly do that job as big as you were?
It was extremely difficult. I was climbing in and out of the rigs all the time, carrying other people, carrying gear. And to be quite honest, man, I still talk to a lot of the people that I was medics with, that I worked with. And, some of them remember me in a whole different way than I am even now. I had a horrible attitude. I was negative all the time. I was negative about life. I was definitely not a very encouraging person to be around, because I was so miserable, not necessarily miserable with what I was doing as much as I was miserable with myself because of how I felt, and my outlook on life just, was bad. And so I'm sure that you could ask some of the people that work with me, and I had a pretty good relationship with everybody, but they would probably say that, he was a very, very negative person at that time, because outlook on life was just not good. And as far as physically, I was doing CPR on people, and every time I had to do something like that, or work a scene, I'm surprised I wasn't the next one that my fellow coworkers had to work on, to be really, because that's the kind of shape that I was in, until it finally led to one day in 2019. I had missed a good bit of work and ended up losing my job as a medic simply because my health was so bad.
Okay. So let's move on. I always talk about on my channel how I think community is important. Um, and I actually met you when you were just getting started in the Carnivore Quest community. And do you mind talking a little bit about, the community that you found with Carnivore Quest? Because I know you've met them because I saw them do an interview with you a few months ago.
Oh, yeah.
So I know you've met them in person. So why don't you go ahead and talk to us just a little bit about how how that moderating in Carnivore Quest went for you and how that came to be.
All right. Yeah, absolutely. After I found Dr. Ken Berry, one of the big things that he had talked about was, just surrounding yourself with, good people and getting involved with the community or whatever. And so that's what I started searching out for. So the next place I went right after I found Ken Berry and started listening to him was right over to Facebook, and started searching on Facebook and come across the Carnivore Quest community. I said, well, let's see what they're talking about. I hit send, and joined the group and got it, accepted into the group, and just started the first couple of days, weeks, whatever. I would just read what people were saying. And then I'd say probably after a month or a month and a half or so, the way of eating had so changed the way that I felt, and started working on my mind and my body in such a way that I was like, I'm developing into something else, and I'm grabbing a hold of this, and I feel so good that this is going to change. I actually told the people, and the group was extremely small at that time. I think there was probably 300 or 400 people tops, and maybe 300 people in there. And I told the people that, that at that time, I said, I'm going to be in here commenting, encouraging people on every single post until y'all are so sick of seeing me that y'all get nauseated with me. And I did. If you go back to that time period, especially right there for the next couple months, and I'm still very active in there. Not as much now with the YouTube thing going, because that occupies a lot of my time, as I'm sure even you're aware. But I'm still pretty active in there because it's pretty important to me to try to reach back and lift up and build up some of those folks that may be where I was. And that's kind of my mission on YouTube as well. It's more of an expansion of what I started back then in that group. But I got a lot of encouragement in that group. I got a lot of people that invested time and knowledge into my life. I don't know if it was Carnivore Quest or if it was Dr. Berry's group, because me and you were in the Dr. Berry's group for a long time. It kind of ran simultaneously, I guess, together, because I joined both of them because they were both pretty important. And I'm still in both of them now. Dr. Berry's group, I guess I give a plug to him, because I've gotten so much good information and stuff that I'll carry with me the rest of my life from Dr. Berry and that group, that if you're not a part of that, you definitely need to get involved with that.
Excellent. So you've met Larry and Cassie in person. Oh, yeah. Are they the same people in real life as they are on TV?
Absolutely. Yes, sir. Matter of fact, right as I was getting ready to log on to the computer to chat with you tonight, I was on the phone with Larry. Larry is just the nicest guy. Cassie too. What you see on camera is basically what you get. So, like me and Larry, when I went down there, you spoke a little bit about the interview that I did with him in August of last year. I literally spent, I think, 10 or 12 hours at his house that day. Me and him sitting on the front porch, shooting a video, ate a steak. We just hung out, and like, it was almost like an instant, like catching up with an old buddy from high school that you've known your whole life, that, whatever. But it was just as real and whatever, and just a nice guy. He's honestly, this YouTube thing may not have ever started if it hadn't have been for Larry, because Larry's the one who told me a year ago, he said, you need to just hit record. And I never would listen to Larry. I was like, no, I just don't know, Larry. I don't know if it's time, and I wasn't comfortable. And he's like, all you got to do is hit record. And he encouraged me the whole time and just spoke into me. And, you know, I asked you, I asked Larry, I asked Mr. Dave, and I try to soak in information from everybody in my life that invest. If you are willing to invest in me, I try to soak in that information and knowledge you have. It's just how the person that I am, because I feel like if you had that kind of experience, I would be stupid or ignorant to not take in the wisdom that you have to offer. You know, it can be whether it's what to do or what not to do. Either way, and I think that that's valuable, and that's helped me. And Larry's been great at that, along with so many other people. But they're definitely, Larry and Cassie are the sweetest people you're ever going to meet.
One of the things that everybody always wants to know, and you know, I always say, you know, there is no set timetable. You can't choose what your body heals first. You can't, you know, you just have to do the diet, and whatever comes is what comes.
Absolutely.
Have some vitamin P, which means have some patience.
Oh, yeah.
But everybody watching this is going to be curious. How fast did you realize that, hey, this is actually going to work?
Yeah. So like I said, you know, I've said it multiple. April the 17th, 2022, I started by that video that I shot on my channel, that walking video. It was shot July the 3rd. By that time right there, my life had been like, I was so dramatically changed that I had energy and I felt so much better. And I guess you're talking about April, May, June, July. You're talking about within 3 months. I felt better, and I could tell that it was different within the first month and a half. But I had gotten so much to the point, or changed. It changed me so quickly that I had so much better of a feeling. I had to get out and do something with all that energy, and I felt good enough to do it. That it did not take very long at all, and I don't know that I really do justice in describing the condition that I was in beforehand, other than just continuing to say, you know, I was in the worst shape of my life. But I literally couldn't take a shower without being out of breath. I would get winded. The back of my hips would go numb if I were on my feet for longer than 30, 45 seconds. And if I didn't sit down and take a break, I would fall over. It was that bad. So, I mean, it was really bad, and it changed very quickly. I will preface a lot of that with the fact that I was extremely strict going into Carnivore. Like, I went into Carnivore for about a month and a half, and then June the 1st is when I switched over to beef, butter, bacon, and eggs. And from that point forward, it was beef, butter, bacon, and eggs. Like, I did have, I think, one meal off plan like a month after, I don't know when I started that. I think it was after month 5. I would say, all right, me and my family are going to go out to eat. And, you know, I would say, okay, if I'm going to have something, I'll allow it to be something like keto. Obviously not the same things that I used to eat. I don't ever plan on eating all that mess again. But I was extremely strict, and I'm still extremely strict today.
Excellent. So, you know, I'm sure you've heard me talk about over the course of 40 years how I tried basically every diet that came down the line.
Mm-hmm.
Is that where you found yourself? Had you tried other diets in the past and just not had any success with them? Or, you know, how did you get to where you were?
I did. I had tried other diets. I had tried working out. I had tried, you know, starving myself, but nothing that I found was sustainable for me. I didn't find anything that I could give way to that was sustainable for me, because I was always trying to be active, or I was always on the go, or whatever the case, whatever happened. But I would never I would never stick to anything. I never had the determination to stick to anything. I never had the willpower. And I think a lot of that came, looking back on it, was because I was always so hungry whenever I would try to eat the way that I was being told to eat. Eat your fruits and vegetables and your salads. Naturally, those, now looking back at it, knowing what I know now, I was burning all those carbs up and it was making me hungrier. And I was just ramping up my hunger and not really getting the nutrients and the satiation that I needed to have the building blocks to build life, you know? So yeah, I mean, I would have tried whatever it took to get what I needed. I just didn't find anything that was sustainable to hang on to, and it always ended up failing.
Great. So do you feel what? So tell my audience, are you still on beef, butter, bacon, and eggs, or do you do regular carnivore? What's your diet look like? What's it? Give us an average day of food for intentional carnivore, and do you feel like what you're doing now is sustainable for the foreseeable future?
So I eat beef, butter, bacon, and eggs still. I eat typically around 10 o'clock. I will eat 4 deviled eggs. Now I do my deviled eggs a little bit different. I will boil the eggs, take the yolk, mix the yolks with hot water and a half a stick of butter, and then pipe them back into the whites. And I will prepare about 5 days worth at a time. And that's my breakfast or my first meal of the day all week long. And I will add salt to that. And then my second meal of the day is a ribeye steak. I'll just go to the butcher shop. I'll buy the whole rib roast, have them chop it into about 15 to 18 steaks. I'll grill 5 at a time. And my second meal of the day, if I want one ribeye or if I want a ribeye and a half or even 2 for that matter, depending on how hungry I am, ribeye beef is my second meal of the day. Occasionally, I will add in some bacon. Sunday mornings, especially for me and the wife and the kids get up and go to church, I'll have me a little bit of bacon. But other than that, I mean, I just have really lost my taste for bacon too. But it's on the plan, so I can have it whenever I want. But that's a typical day for me, and I've been doing this exact way, eggs and ribeye for I guess 8 or 9 months solid now. I haven't even had hamburger, ground beef, or anything like that. I just haven't had a desire to change it. I'm so satisfied and content with it, I guess.
Excellent, excellent. So, you mentioned that you go to church,
Mm-hmm.
and I also go to church on a very regular basis. And I don't know if you're familiar with the Baptist church or not, but as I have told you, I'm told that you need to have 2 things to be a member of the Baptist church. You have to have a King James Version Bible,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to have a 9 by 12 casserole dish. Those are the 2 things that are required to be in the Baptist church.
Right.
And I'm assuming your church has potlucks and things like that as well. Have you had any problems? Are you getting any pushback from going to church functions and not eating, but just hanging around and soaking up the fellowship? Or are most of the people in your church supportive of what you're doing?
Honestly, most of the people in my church are pretty supportive that I run into. I don't do the dinner, so to speak, but if we did, I wouldn't have an issue not eating. Um, but yeah, I'm familiar with the Baptist church. I go to a Baptist church here in my hometown. Yeah, but no, it's not a big deal. Matter of fact, I'm actually trying to write a curriculum right now, outlining a 12-week program of how to teach. I don't know that it doesn't take, in my opinion, 12 weeks to teach carnivore. I think it's, pretty simple to understand. However, I want to have like a 12-week outline of how to be able to teach carnivore and incorporate it with the principles that we teach at church and be able to teach it to a certain amount of people at the church. So I'm trying to actually develop that along with everything else right now. So, I mean, I don't know how accepting they are personally with the issue. But I haven't had any kickback from anybody about it. And I think that it could be vital and very beneficial to a lot of the folks at the church. And so that's kind of where I'm at with in relation to the church and Carnivore and stuff right now. I feel like I say it a lot of times on my channel. I feel like bless people, save people. Reaching out to other people once you've been helped with something is more, to me, I feel like is a requirement. I feel like, what kind of person would I be if I didn't try to help other people, if I have been helped so much? That comes from my time at church, learning those principles. And that's really my mission, man. So that's kind of where I'm at, if that makes any sense.
Well, it makes perfect sense. That's exactly where all of the people that I follow that I really, really like, you, Carnivore Quest, even Dr. Barry feels like he's making amends for the years of bad advice that he gave to his patients. And, just like, what kind of a Christian would I be to hate somebody so bad that I don't want to share the gospel with them?
Absolutely.
I feel that outside of that, sharing the gift of good health with somebody is the most important mission we can have, because I know what you've gone through to get to where you are now. Mm-hmm. I know what I went through for 40 years prior to finding this. And I know, back before I started exploring this community and making YouTube videos and all that, I thought I was alone in the world. I thought I was the only one suffering through doctors not being able to give me advice that would actually work. But now I realize that there are, thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people out there that are in the same boat you and I were in. And it wouldn't be very Christian of me, or even good person of me, to not share my story and not tell people how easy it is to reclaim your health. And I don't want to make it sound like it's easy, because there are a lot of struggles along the way. And speaking of struggles along the way, did you have any real struggles? I mean, what are some of the top things you struggled with?
I guess one of the biggest things that I struggled with was finding things to replace the time, initially anyway, finding things to replace the time that normally I would spend focusing on food. Because I'm sure you're aware, and some of the other people who have been doing carnivore or keto or whatever for any amount of time are breaking those addictions. It's really with any addiction that you're breaking. You don't want to replace one addiction for another addiction. However, you do have to replace the time that you spent involved with that addiction with other things, because there's still there's that time there that you have to fill. And when it comes to our diet and our food, it changes so drastically on carnivore and on a ketogenic way of eating that you're more satiated for longer amounts of time. You don't have to spend as much time eating, planning, preparing. You better have something in mind to fill that time, or you're going to be just sitting there being tempted, get bored. And when you get bored, you usually, most of the time, give into your habits, because that's just how we are most of the time. So that was one of my biggest things, was, finding things to do productive that I could fill all that time with, because it was a lot of time. As I explained earlier or a while ago, I cook 5 steaks at a time, and we prepare my eggs. All that can be done in 2 or 3 hours on like on a Sunday or a Saturday or whatever. And I don't think about food. I don't worry about what to prepare. When I get hungry, I go warm up a steak, or I go pull out my eggs, and that's it. And I'm done. I use that fuel until the fuel runs out. Then I go have some more, and that's just, that was one of the biggest struggles. I think maybe as far as the mental transformation actually starting, that's the biggest struggle that I think I share with other people too, because it was always, even though I knew about carnivore for a while before I started carnivore, that day never came. It was, even for me, before I started it, it was, I'm going to start tomorrow. I'm going to start tomorrow. And there's nothing special about April the 17th of 2022, other than that was the day that I'd had enough. And today is the day. I'm not waiting till tomorrow. I'm not waiting till next week. Today's the day. And that's the day that my life changed.
Excellent. I do want to be mindful of your time, but I also want to let you say everything that it is that you like to say when you talk to people about this. So, knowing that my audience is primarily people my age and older, if there's somebody out there watching right now that hasn't actually started the carnivore diet yet, what kind of advice would you offer to those people who have not done it yet? They're in that same boat where you were in. I'm going to start tomorrow. I'm going to start tomorrow. What would you say to those people?
My biggest advice, it doesn't matter if you're 10 or you're 90. Until it's over, it's not over. Until you're in the ground, it's not over. You're never too late. I'm reminded of a story. A while ago we were talking about church and we were talking about those things, and I'm reminded of a story. And I know, we could sit here and debate back and forth forever about what people believe and whatnot. However, there's a story in the Word that always stuck with me, and it was about Moses. And Moses was 80 years old before he led the Israelites out of Egypt. And you think about getting set out on a task when you're 80 years old, whenever it's time to hang it all up and be done with life and kick back and relax. That's when God put Moses to work. And I think it's critically important for, the generation above me and the generation below me and my generation to all realize that we all have something valuable to offer. The wisdom that your generation has needs to be passed to my generation. It needs to be accepted by my generation, and it needs to be passed on. And there's no better example and no better time to start doing that than now, because I feel like there's been a breakdown in our society a lot of times in passing on that wisdom and information because of the generational gaps and understanding. And I feel like that's something that's critically important because, there's so much wisdom to be gained by listening to other people and learning from their experiences. I don't think that can be discounted. And, when it comes to diet and nutrition, I may be younger than a lot of people, but I found this way that works, and it's the proper human diet. And it doesn't matter whether you're 80, whether you're 15, it's the proper human diet, and it works. Maybe not reversing everything that somebody spent 80 years adding up, but it will definitely improve the quality of life that you have left no matter what age you are. And I think that can be beneficial for everybody, no matter what your age is, no matter what your socioeconomic status is, no matter what part of the world you live in. If you're still breathing air, it's going to be beneficial for you.
Excellent. Now, just real quick here before I let you go, and I ask you to tell us about where we can find you, what I'd like to do now is just give you the stage is yours. If there's anything else you'd like to say while you've got the attention of my audience,
absolutely,
feel free to just say whatever you want to say, as long as it doesn't have swear words in it, because I'll bleep those out.
Well, I do my best not to say swear words. I try to be. My mom used to always. I used to talk pretty bad, and my mom would always tell me, or my wife even would tell me, "You're not that ignorant. You can find better words to describe what you're saying." So I try to do better on that. My biggest message is a message of hope, man. I've often struggled with the platform as far as sharing the diet without going into too many different details about the spiritual religious side of it or the diet side of it or any of that, and combining the two, because I feel like we need to handle one thing at a time, so to speak. But I feel like it's critically important for us to understand that there is hope for each and every one of us. And I feel like we are designed in such a way that we need to focus on our health, because our health is important, and it interlinks and directly relates to everything else that we do in this life. You know, what you put in your body will come out in some way, shape, or form. And the nutrition that we put in, it has such a toll on us. And I feel like that's critically important. But there's a lot of people out there that don't know about this way of eating. And that's really just my mission. And I'm, trying to learn how to communicate that more effectively and speak more clearly, and not, I get in my nerves a lot of times and start stumbling and stuttering, and I'm trying to work on that, because I want to be as efficient as possible in relaying the message that there's hope. There's hope for you, even despite the fact you don't think that there's a way out for you. There is a way out. And I just want you to be encouraged to get involved with the community. Come, if it's nothing more than just watching the videos, watch the videos. If it's get involved in Facebook in a group and let other people speak into your life, then do that. But find a place to get in, and even if it's just observe, do that for a while before you try it. But give it a try. Don't let somebody else's opinion of what or things that you've heard about this way of eating and way of life keep you from experiencing something that will radically transform how you feel and who you are. That's the main message that I really want to get across and bring to people.
Excellent. So tell us, and I will have it underneath your face here. Your channel on YouTube is Intentional Carnivore on YouTube, but are you on other social media platforms? Where can my audience go to find you?
Absolutely. Yeah, you guys can find me at Intentional Carnivore on YouTube. I can be found Intentional Carnivore Shawn White on Facebook, and I can be found in the Carnivore Quest community. We found in either of those three places.
Okay, so you don't have an Instagram or Twitter or any of that kind of stuff?
I do have an Instagram. I'm horrible about posting on Instagram.
Welcome to the club.
I try to get on Instagram. I don't really understand. I'll be quite honest with you. I do have an Instagram. I don't really know how to work it. Every time I get on there, it messes up. So I get off. I think I have one post since I started this YouTube channel on Instagram, and I added a song on there. It got copyright striked or whatever because of a music that was playing in it that I got from them. So I'm not good with the Instagram, but I do get on there occasionally and check it. So you can try to find me on there, but I would look on YouTube or in the Facebooks before going to Instagram, because you probably won't catch me on there a whole lot.
Okay, don't run off here, Shawn.
Oh yeah.
Okay, everyone, don't forget, get down in the comments. Thank Shawn for his time, because thank you, Shawn. I'm very glad you came out to talk with us this afternoon.
Thank you.
Don't forget, people, get out there, be 1% better today, tomorrow, every day. Have a great day, folks, and we'll see you in the next one.